Right, hello there, we're back, 67, hail hail, with Hamish and Euan. You know all that by now. Also what you know is that Saturday afternoon, lunchtime, Celtic will be visiting Ibrox for the first time in over a year. It's an absolutely huge game. We can't quite put into words how big a game it is, Euan, but we're going to try. First of all, I just want to get a bit of a check-up with you on how you're feeling about the game, because, you know, we've gone from previous matches been probably too confident to really dreading the worst and fearing the worst ahead of this game. We've seen a bit of a resurgence in recent weeks. We've won our last 4 league games. We've kept clean sheets in all of them. On a scale of 1 to 10, how are we feeling in terms of Saturday?
I think at the moment I'm about a 6. I'm trying not to get carried away because the recent performances have been really good, but they've got to be put into context in terms of, I mean, Hamilton, great performance, but they had a lot of players missing. Ditto Ross County, they just got rid of their manager. John Hughes came in quite last minute. So last night was the first time in a few weeks where I've thought that's a comprehensive win, and that is just about sort of gives you an idea of the level we're at. And so, yeah, I'm going into Saturday with like sort of cautious optimism because our defence seems to have been sorted out. Obviously, Julien's probably going to miss the game, which is a real concern. But yeah, about a 6, maybe 6.5.
Yeah, I'm verging between a 6 and a 7. I think if you ask me to describe how I'm feeling, I'd say I'm very quietly confident, with the emphasis on very there. I'm certainly not going to be putting out any videos on 5 reasons why Celtic will beat Rangers like I did last time before we played them, because I got a bit of a panning for that.
Well,
I think in general we have to, to play this one down a little bit in terms of our hopes. I'm quietly confident, as I say. I think we've certainly seen a resurgence in the team in recent weeks. The performances have definitely improved, but we're going up against a better side than what we've played in recent weeks. You know, we have played some of the poorer teams in the league. Even Hearts in the cup final were a lower league team. So it's the toughest test for this Celtic team. How do you feel we're set up to deal with this test on Saturday?
I think, I mean, any Celtic fan will tell you they're more confident now than they were, say, a month ago. And part of that's down to the shape that Lennon's using. So that midfield diamond really brings out the best of David Turnbull, Cal McGregor to an extent. I think he's been unleashed a little bit, and I think that's really good for him. A lot of it depends on team selection for Saturday. In terms of my confidence, I won't feel particularly one way or the other until I see the team sheet on Saturday, and I think that's probably true of a lot of Celtic fans as well. I think there's a debate about Scott Brown again, and who slots into the back four in the place of Christopher Jullien. But yeah, when I see the team sheet, I'll have an actual solid emotion I can report to you, which is probably useless because you wanted actual analysis, I would have thought. So I'm just bringing you uncertainty upon uncertainty. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm actually excited about it, which is so much more than I thought I would be, because I was.
Yeah.
You know, you saw it on the calendar, sort of dreaded it, especially the form that the Rangers are on. And I hate saying this, and I will say this with my scarf out, full Celtic merch day. You know, so no one can call me a plastic paddy or a Tim or a fake Tim or whatever. This Rangers side are really good. They're really good. Gerrard's built a really good squad there, and I hate saying that. But over the last 2 years or so, you know, there's options, there's competition in every position. So it's as tough a test as we've had in quite a significant amount of time.
We're a good team though as well, aren't we? I know we've not shown it all of this season. We've probably not shown it for nearly enough of this season, but we're seeing signs in recent weeks of players getting back to the kind of level we know they can play at. I think we've certainly seen an improvement in Odsonne Edouard. The goals haven't really come, although he has scored a few in recent weeks. I think Lee Griffiths has been back to the kind of player we know he can be, getting an extended run in the team, and those comments from Lennon on him not being fit enough seem a long, long way ago now. I think players like David Turnbull and Ismail Assoro have really added something to the team, and you could argue that they've been the two kind of main catalysts. I don't know if you can have two catalysts, but they've been that for bringing us on to a new level. But it's just so hard to weigh up, isn't it? Because we've seen definite improvements. You can't deny what we're seeing on the pitch. The improvement from, for example, the 3-0 win over Dundee United the other day to the 1-1 draw with St Johnstone, or even more, starkly, the 2-0 defeat to Ross County in the Cup. that's a massive improvement in the space of 5 or 6 weeks. But equally, if we lose on Saturday, it's not all been for nothing, but in many ways we're back to square one, aren't we? So, we could be sitting here on Saturday evening talking once again about Neil Lennon's future and just the fact that we've completely blown 10 in a row, because for me 10 in a row would be away if we lose on Saturday. But equally, we're just clinging on to that little bit of hope on Saturday that we can finally, for the first time in 3 derbies or whatever, we can turn up and we can, really give a good account of ourselves, because I take pelters for it, and John watching this is going to be raging at me for saying this, but we do have the best squad, and I will stick by that. Player for player, we have the best squad, we have the best players, and if they're playing to their top level, I think they'll win on Saturday. But saying all that, there's still huge questions for me over the defence and stuff like that. For you on Saturday, does it have to be a win, or is a draw an acceptable result?
See, I've been battling with this all morning, because I honestly think it's only a win that'll do. That deficit at the top, obviously, there's been a lot of so a lot of talk about it being fake news and all that stuff, which was quite funny, I thought. But it is a big gap at the moment, and even if we do, provided we do win all those 3 games, that makes it 7 points, 6 points. So it's a win would be 7 points high. So yeah, a win's massive. A draw is tolerable, and I wouldn't be gutted. I think there's still a lot of work to do regardless of the result on Saturday, but yeah, I think a win. I think it has to be a win. But I think if you look at the form that we're on, I think, I'm not going to say anything wild like Rangers are on a decline, but they had that bad result against St Mirren a few weeks back, and they've looked less convincing in recent weeks, while Celtic have sort of built momentum. So, looking at the form guide, you would say that Celtic are in with a very decent shout here. But Rangers are a very good side, and they've got a lot of really good options in the final third as well. So it's going to be the biggest test to Celtic defence since probably Lille, or second half against Hearts. But I think a lot of that was self-inflicted. So yeah, it has to be a win. I wouldn't be devastated with a draw, but I think looking at the season as a whole, it has to be a win.
There's 2 kind of very separate parts, isn't there? The first part is quite literally the points gap, and looking at the league title race and pondering whether, in theory 7 points. So you never want to count that as 9 points, because winning 3 games, if it's 1 game in hand, you can say, right, we should probably win that. But if it's 3 games, winning 3 games in a row is a pretty tough thing to do in any league for any team. So, but if you do all that, and you look at it at the moment as 7 points, and it was a draw on Saturday, and in theory we're 7 points behind, I think with what we would have 16, 17 games to go in the season, I don't think that's insurmountable, especially when we've seen how Rangers have collapsed in the past, and the fact there's still 2 derby matches to go, and also the fact that they're, I think, 3 away games to the 3 of their next 4 games after the derby are away to Aberdeen, Motherwell and Hibs, which is 3 really tough games. That's one aspect of it. You could maybe concede there that 7 points in theory is doable. It's not the end of the season. But the other aspect for me, the more important one in many ways, and it seems daft to say that when obviously the league table should be the most important thing, but it's the psychological damage we could do to Rangers on Saturday. A team who, yes, they lost to St Mirren, but other than that, domestically, their form's been amazing this season. It's been absolutely brilliant. They've dropped 4 points in half a season. They're in course for over 100 points. They're, pretty much in line with where the Invincibles were 3 or 4 years ago. But with all that, I would argue they haven't had a real proper test this season. When we played them the last time, we did not turn up. I just want to see us giving them a real test, and I think if we performed to our level on Saturday, we could give them a fright. And imagine if we beat them on Saturday. Just peer into the future and imagine 2 things: the boost it would give Neil Lennon, his team, the boost it would give the whole Celtic support, but on the other side, the damage that it would do them. It would be their first league defeat of the season. It would be at Ibrox. It would be against their biggest rivals, and it would give them all something to think about and ponder. So for me, that's why it has to be a win. Like, taking the table to one side, that for me is why it has to be a win.
Hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I think you could. When I said that a draw might be acceptable, it depends on the kind of draw, if you know what I mean. So Celtic came out absolutely firing out the box yesterday, and the pressing was fantastic. That's largely down to Ismail Assoro because he covers Ayer and another to be decided really well. So there's options, in defensive situations in terms of there's always one man pressing and one man standing off just in case Sora is beaten. That was a system that was kind of used yesterday and it's been used the last few games to really good effect. So if combining that with, being right up for it from the first whistle, if Celtic can approach this like they've approached the games against Hamilton, the game against Dundee United, but yeah, I would say ultimately needs to be a win because, well, the league table says that. And I think the Celtic team are capable of it. And again, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I think, no fans there, which is obviously going to make a difference. It's made a difference to every other game. Um, you know,
I think that's a huge point, by the way, and I have not heard one person other than your good self just there actually mention it. And I think it's because we've kind of become immune to this whole no fans at games. It's almost no longer a talking point because we've had it for so long. But I think in this case, I think it's a huge point because we're not going to an Ibrox with 50,000 Rangers fans. Even more so nowadays when you have such a small away support and it's no longer 8,000, it's like 900 Celtic fans. We're not going to Ibrox. It's going to be 99% full of Rangers fans. We are going to an empty Ibrox. Surely a bit of that fear has to be away.
Yeah, it benefits us much more than it hinders us. And yeah, I think that obviously the players will be used to it by now, but with such a big occasion, the more experienced Rangers players will be looking around and sort of wondering what's happened. Obviously, despite the fact that there have been so many games behind closed doors, I think it was to our detriment in the first game of the season. I think just having that big, it was still quite a weird feeling to have that sort of massive, paradise cauldron, that atmosphere not being there. I think that was to our detriment.
The Lion's Den, or no, what was it? Gerard absolutely hated. Is it the Lion's Den?
Oh yeah, but didn't he say something like it's not a real lion's den though because there's no lions, so or something really David Brent-esque. I can't remember. It was great. He's becoming quite a strange man, do you not think? Just like outside of football, like over the last since he became a coach, like he just says some really bizarre stuff.
He's so intense. He is the most intense man I've ever come across. Sometimes you just want to say, I'm just lighten up and have a wee laugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, I fear we're going off on a tangent. We'll have another video for you tomorrow, by the way. We're going to pick our teams and have a general chat about the games. I've got a few interesting things I want to chuck at you. Not literally, of course, because we're in remote locations. But Euan, thank you very much once again for your time. We'll chat to you tomorrow. Thanks everyone for watching. And as I say, we are back tomorrow with a second part of the preview for the big game.